After several weeks, it's finally time for my very first review, and today I am focusing on 50 Shades of Grey. So I tried to go into my reading of the book with as much of an open mind as I could. So let me start by just talking about the general plot of this story. It was not what I thought it would be, even though I've read the source material. Exhibit A, the 50 Shades of Grey source material. It is Twilight fan fiction that then became really big, but it originates as pretty much a scene-for-scene, character-for-character fan fiction story of everyone's favorite YA, I guess it's not a trilogy, series. So the plot revolves almost entirely around Anastasia meeting Christian Grey and being introduced to this lifestyle and deciding if she's going to sign the contract to be involved with him in that way or not. I thought there would be more of the Red Room of pain that Christian Grey has and that we've heard so much about. But actually it wasn't as big of a part of the story as I had been led to believe. But after we talk about the plot and sort of the pace of the book, pretty much everything after that goes downhill for me. I hated every single character in this book. To start with, I hated Anastasia Steele, just like more than I hated Bella Swan, because she's so poorly written as a character. She, first of all, she's a blank slate. She has very little personality, but we're not supposed to believe that she's a personality-less girl. She's supposed to be very smart, one of the top in her class is an English major, very well read, very witty and charming, but she doesn't really seem to have any friends or anything really going on in her life. She's not really a joiner of groups, and she didn't read as smart to me. So I wasn't really buying the whole intelligent banter thing that was supposed to be happening with her and Christian. Which then brings me to Christian Grey. He is the most ridiculous character I think I've ever read in a book. He's supposed to be 26 years old and a billionaire in charge of his own company, but I've never met a 26-year-old person like him. He is complete fiction and fantasy, which I get is the point, but I didn't like it. He's broody and cultured, and he plays the piano in the middle of the night, which to me just reads as purposeful attention-seeking behavior, oh, look at me, I'm so moody that I get up and play the piano because I can't deal with my feelings in any other way. All right, bro, whatever. Most 26-year-old billionaire men that I've known, which is zero, but I've known dudes, they don't behave like that. He never seems to do any work, yet somehow he's built this incredible company in 4 years. I don't see any kind of work ethic from him that shows that, because he just drops everything for Anastasia all the time, which doesn't really make any sense to me. I just don't buy that any 26-year-old rich dude would be like Christian Grey. So we're supposed to have this great combination of mature and worldly and mysterious, but also young and hot with his pants that hang just that way or just so, which what way? I don't know, Anastasia. That's how you keep describing his pants, off of his little hippie hips, and runs around and likes to hurt people. That's Christian Grey. So ultimately, the characters are what killed the novel for me, because if I don't like the characters, then I'm not really going to care or believe in what they're trying to do or care about reading beyond this book to find out how they resolve their conflicts. But then this would not be a review of 50 Shades of Grey without talking about the rape culture element. It's she does consent, she does want to participate in this relationship, but she's being manipulated in other ways. So it's not she feels at the moment she doesn't participate in the sexual relationship, but yet she goes home and cries half the time after she talks to Christian Grey. She says, if I do this sex thing with him, then maybe he will be my boyfriend. Because the ultimate thing that Anastasia wants here is to be in a normal relationship with Christian. She wants to go to movies and take long walks on the beach with him. And she says if she has to withstand getting slapped with a belt and tied up and blindfolded and beaten, she calls it being beaten, not pain or pleasure. That's not healthy, and she really doesn't want to participate in the painful aspects of the relationship. She's doing it to manipulate him into what she wants, and he's manipulating her in the same way. And in the end, I don't think that she really understands what she's getting herself into. There definitely are a few scenes in the book that that would be really creepy if it wasn't Christian Grey doing them. So one of the things I like to point out with the rape culture or unhealthy relationships is like, it's really great if a man does these things when he's hot and rich and you want him. But if this man was suddenly not attractive and not who you wanted, then they would be seen as like something where you would call the police. For example, Anastasia meets Christian for the first time. He puts a tracker on her phone. He uses the tracker on her phone to come and get her at a bar and take her with him. Now, because he's hot and he's a billionaire, we think that that's sexy and romantic and that he saved her. But if he wasn't a billionaire and she didn't like him, that's kidnapping, right? Stalking. And then he takes her back to his hotel room, undresses her when they've never even had any sort of physical relationship. That's definitely a violation of somebody's private space and their body. But then it's all okay because when they wake up in the morning, he's left her some sort of cutesy, delicious breakfast and she is charmed by him because he's rich and handsome. Other instances, like there's one point where Anastasia sends an email to Christian kind of implying that she doesn't want to sign the contract or be in a relationship. She's sort of kidding. He takes it seriously, gets into her house because Kate lets him in with wine and proceeds to tell her, after she said, I don't want a relationship with you, has sex with her. It's not exactly rape because she does seem, I mean, I do believe that she's consenting in the moment, but if that wasn't Christian Grey, again, our creepy sleazeball meter would be going off here. So in the end, my feelings about 50 Shades of Grey are very complex. Those are just some of the instances in the story that were red flags or that were worth talking about. Ultimately, I don't blame this book or E.L. James for some of the conversations that we're having around the context of the book and the contents of the book. I blame a greater cultural thing, and this is just one book that happened to become popular, but it's a conversation we need to have about all books and all women and all men and all relationships in books and outside of them, and how sometimes our ideals and issues of consent get really mixed up and we're sending a lot of mixed messages about what that looks like. We all have the choice of whether or not we want to read the book. So I don't believe in shaming other people for reading this and enjoying it. And I also don't believe in reading it if it makes you uncomfortable. And it certainly is okay to critique it and to have conversations about what in these books makes us uncomfortable. So I think everyone's conversations around the book are really interesting, really valid. And I'm fascinated just reading everything people have to say about this book. So I'm really glad that I've now read the book so I have something tangible to attach to arguments on both sides of the coin. In the end, I gave 50 Shades of Grey a whopping 2 stars. I will not be continuing on with the rest of the series, though I did read all of the synopses on like various websites, so I know what happens. But ultimately, this is just not for me. Of course, a major reason for reading this book was that I like participating in conversations about it. So if you have thoughts or anything you want to add to this or interesting articles or videos on this that you think I should watch, certainly leave those in the comments below. That's all for today, and I'll see you next time. The plot revolves almost entirely around Bella, not Bella. The plot revolves almost entirely around, what is her name? Anastasia. Exhibit A, Twilight source material. Nope, it's not Twilight.